All right, guys. So, if you've been watching me at all recently, you guys will know that there's been a pretty massive spike in transphobic rhetoric online, particularly on YouTube lately. Now, it's always been there. I mean, hating on trans people has basically been a pastime of like wannabe edgelords and reactionaries on the internet for as long as I've been on the internet. I heard the attack helicopter thing and had no idea what it was referencing. I just thought it was a funny little thing before I even knew what trans people were or that they existed. That is how prevalent the transphobia itself has always been online. Which means that when I say there's been a spike in it recently, that's saying a lot. That is saying a lot that there has been even more lately. And if you're trans and you watch me, or if you're, left wing and paying attention to the world and you watch me, then you know that right now more than ever, we're seeing trans acceptance become more widespread. This is true. Trans acceptance is more widespread and becoming more widespread than ever right now. However, as has been the case in every civil rights movement in history, whenever the progressive side starts to make progress and a disenfranchised minority group begins to gain equal treatment and equal rights, the opposition, the reactionaries, the right, the racists, the bigots, etc., they get even more vitriolic and even more desperate in their fight to keep things as they are. Their fight for injustice becomes even more desperate. And this leads to the hate for a certain demographic to increase in its fervor tangential, like at the same rate, or not the same rate, but correlatively with the acceptance of that group in society. And this has led, obviously, to the recent spike in a whole lot of anti-trans content. Now, for those of you who are unaware, every person who makes an account on YouTube signs something called a Terms of Service Agreement. Now, this is oftentimes shortened down to TOS, and that's what I'm going to call it for the rest of the video. You've heard me say it a lot. TOS, the Terms of Service. You sign that agreement, and saying yes to all the terms in that agreement allows you to own a YouTube account. If you say no to that agreement, you do not get to have a YouTube account. You can only have an account if you agree to those terms. Those are the terms of use. With that said, TOS has gotten a very bad rap recently for, if I'm being honest, a variety of reasons. Some good and some bad. I'll start with the good reasons. The TOS has arguably grown overzealous in some areas. Talk to anybody who's been on YouTube for 5 to 10 years, and they will agree that YouTube has, in some area, cracked down too hard on certain types of content when it's completely unnecessary and creators are suffering from it. Whether it be changes that have caused animators to face, false strikes for supposed nudity in their videos, while, there is none. Meanwhile, you've got the nude yoga videos that YouTube doesn't care about. The double standard that's applied. There's been a very negative vibe given to TOS on YouTube recently, and a large part of it is centered around this idea that YouTube's TOS has gotten more and more unfair and is making the platform of YouTube more and more unfun, right? They're like, you filthy Frank couldn't do what he used to do anymore on YouTube. God damn, the left took over, cancel culture went too far. And this isn't cancel culture or the liberals or whatever it may be. This is capitalism. Google is a massive corporation, and YouTube, as it stands, is not profitable to them. I think it might have just recently switched over into profitability for them, but up until recently, if that is the case, it has not been. And YouTube basically makes all of its money off of ads running on the creator's content. And YouTube gets 50% of the ad revenue, and you get the other 50% of the ad revenue. that you get, right? And each view of an ad is like a pathetically low amount, like less than a penny usually. Maybe a little bit more than a penny if you're lucky, right? So, over time that accumulates and you make a decent amount of money. And YouTube ends up making a decent amount of money, right? But how much money YouTube makes is dependent on how much money the creators are making to some degree. Now, there are areas where this doesn't count, like YouTube will totally demonetize videos or age restrict videos, or just make it so that the creator can't receive income from a video, and yet they'll still run ads on the video and presumably profit from it. That's scummy behavior on the part of YouTube. And another reason why YouTube's TOS has gotten a very bad rap. But despite all of these problems, and I could list many, many more, including how much of a double standard there is in the application of YouTube's TOS, because I have gotten numerous false strikes, Vosh has gotten numerous false strikes, Dylan Burns has gotten numerous false strikes, Demon Mama has gotten numerous false strikes, Shark, I believe, has gotten multiple false strikes. Conyer has gotten multiple false strikes. Jesse Gender has gotten multiple false strikes. I could probably go on for much longer. These are all lefty content creators that have all gotten false strikes in the last year or two because they were criticizing right-wing content creators with way more subs and views than them on YouTube. And that content that they got false striked for is still still up. So, there is a lot of reasons, good and bad, to be a little triggered about YouTube TOS. However, despite all of those problems, I still believe it is extraordinarily necessary. One of the biggest reasons is because, let's be real, you don't want YouTube to turn into a toxic sex pool. Well, yeah, you don't want it to turn into that either, or a cesspool. If you've ever spent any amount of time in any space that prides itself on low to zero moderation, you will know exactly what that leads to. Okay? As a matter of fact, later in the stream, we're going to be playing on 2B2T, the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft, and you guys will be able to look at the game chat, and I'll let you guys decide what people tend to decide to say and do when they believe that they will face no consequences for saying and doing those things. So, it's not so much that people need to be punished in any significant way for speaking or saying a certain thing. It's more so that YouTube as a platform does have a right, and morally, I think, should moderate their platform to keep it somewhat civil and usable for the broader public, right? You don't want Twitter or YouTube to exist in such a state where, like, if anybody goes on there that is suspected of being black, for example, just immediately pelted with thousands of people calling them the N-word, right? Like, that's the kind of stuff that happens on 2B. That's not the kind of thing you want to happen on YouTube, or the website will die, right? And I think if you're a YouTube viewer, you want the site to succeed. However, despite this, it is obvious that YouTube has a bit of a conundrum here, right? Far-right reactionary content has always paid very well. It's always driven clicks and made a lot of money for these platforms, and that's why right-wing content creators and right-wing propagandists have always made more money and been more popular and successful online than left-wing figures. This will never change unless the right is essentially, like, glassed off the internet. Like, unless they completely glass racism, sexism, homophobia, all that stuff successfully off of the internet, the right-wing figures will continue to do better online than left-wing figures. The right is insane and dedicated to their beliefs. They base their entire self-worth on how well their political movement is doing, so all of them goes into content talking about it, or, like, they donate shit tons of money to their favorite content creator, all that kind of stuff. They literally dick ride their beliefs and their demagogues harder than anybody else. You don't really get that on the left as much, which just kind of definitively means the left is never going to have that level of social reach in terms of, like, who the figures are. And that's not a problem, because YouTube in the end has to take care of these right-wing channels. So, how many of you have heard of the term Adpocalypse? So for those who are unaware, Adpocalypses are events on YouTube in which some controversy occurs because a company sees that their ads are running alongside some controversial content on YouTube, And then them and a bunch of other advertisers say, just pull their ads from the platform, which means that YouTube is has no ads to run on YouTubers' content, which makes everybody broke and everybody's having a bad time until the ads come back and YouTube has dealt with the problem. This has happened a ton in the past. The first Adpocalypse, the most notable one, was when PewDiePie did the Death to All Jews Fiverr video. A lot of news articles reported on that, and a lot of companies pulled out. And YouTube lost a lot of money. And their TOS got a lot more strict after that. And for a while, from 2017 to 2019 or 2020, it really seemed like YouTube was very on top of, culling down a lot of the more insane right-wing content. There was definitely still blatant TOS violations being allowed on the platform, but overall, they were kind of doing their job well enough. But now, lately, it really feels like they're slacking. The right-wing demagogues like Matt Walsh and whatnot have gotten so brazen that in their multi-million view videos and their multi-million subscriber channels, they're just making titles in which they say trans people are pedophiles and groomers and all that. And it's just completely fine with YouTube. And the reason why I want to express to you, the reason why I want to talk about this, because I've talked about it a lot before, the reason why I'm talking about it again is because YouTube tweeted something just a couple days ago that just made me feel a type of way, is really the only way I can describe it. Let's just take a look. YouTube, the official YouTube Twitter account. Thinking about the trans community and trans creators this hashtag Trans Week of Awareness. I see you, and I celebrate you. Oh, thank you, YouTube. Oh my god, the trans community is so fucking happy about this. Now, let's go ahead and see what the trans community, who I bet is very happy to hear this, has to say in response to this tweet. I'm sure they're very thrilled. Let's see, we got a top comment here from the Surfs, who I do not particularly like, but happens to post some pretty banger tweets from time to time. Matt Walsh, Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, The Quartering, Elijah Schaefer, Lauren Southern, Ben Shapiro, The Daily Wire, Tulsi Gabbard, etc. are all among your biggest political channels and all broadcast extreme transphobia for profit on a regular basis. Oh, and it's not even that either. All of these channels, almost all of them at least, run ads on YouTube. So if you watch another content creator, you may get an ad for one of these channels on that video, which means they are running ads through a completely separate and special YouTube ad system, and YouTube is endorsing their advertisements and their channels there through that. This shit is going to lead to a massive adpocalypse down the road. It is going to be bad. YouTubers are going to suffer if they don't start taking this into their own hands and mass flagging these channels, because the adpocalypse will hit, and it's going to suck for all of us. We're not going to be making anywhere near as much money. It'll suck dick.
Hate speech.
Let's see this clip. I've already seen it, by the way. The first part it's interspersed with clips from YouTube's TOS explanation and what they believe about hate speech on their TOS. So let's enjoy this.
Hate speech is not allowed on YouTube. We remove content promoting violence or hatred against members of protected groups, including but not limited to race, gender, sexual orientation, or religious affiliation.
Using all of our platforms to amplify this story, we can ensure that whenever anyone Googles this person in the future, potential employers or anybody else, they will immediately see that Eli Ehrlich is a confessed peddler.
If the primary purpose is educational,
millions of subscribers, millions of views, by the way, chat,
documentary, scientific, or artistic in nature, but this is not a free pass to promote hate speech.
And now they just put security guards up for the bathroom security or whatever. Oh, I hate that.
That is brutal. It is so dark, it's genuinely hard to watch.
Agreed, John. I mean, it is brutal and hard to watch. That is a very young boy who has been convinced by his parents that he is a girl. Not only that, but he is being paraded around on camera and used as a political prop. He has been made not...
And it's important that the purpose of the video is not to directly encourage violence or promote hatred against individuals or groups.
Now, if it seems like they're casting the widest imaginable net in order to catch the most children they can and put them all on a path to sterilization and butchery before they can even talk, well, that's because that's exactly what these monsters are doing. And they've done it up until this moment without much resistance from the public. And that's why I'm in the very early stages of trying to organize a national coordinated effort to fight back against this evil. It's really just a matter of where do we begin? Maybe we begin at Boston Children's Hospital.
Sent a bomb threat specifically to Boston Children's Hospital, saying a bomb was on the way and calling them sickos at the hospital. Now, why would you call them sickos? Simply, doctors at a children's hospital. There is a right-wing misinformation campaign about trans youths that's been going on.
Matt Walsh inspired a bomb threat. Yes, Libs of TikTok was also responsible for this as well.
On the far
at a children's hospital of all places.
right in the last few weeks. The unfortunate thing is now it's targeting doctors and it's evacuating hospitals where kids are receiving.
By the way, when this starts to reach the more politically escalated violence, like, you know how you get like the mass shooters who get inspired by like the white nationalist shit into shooting up a synagogue or a mosque or whatever? That stuff happens a lot. You haven't seen what's going to happen from the radicalization of like the transphobic shit. I have no doubt it's going to be very similar to the way that the anti-abortion activists would attack and attempt to murder and just straight up murder doctors who performed abortions. They would wait outside of abortion clinics back in like the 90s, back in the day. This was more of an older thing. It still happens today, but it was a really big problem back in the day when like abortion was much more of a contested issue, where like women would be assaulted and attacked by right-wingers going into like a Planned Parenthood, even if they were suspected of going in to get an abortion. Mind you, most people are not going into Planned Parenthood to get an abortion. A lot of people who are pregnant are going into Planned Parenthood to like get a checkup and find out if the pregnancy is going well. There were women getting assaulted, going into a Planned Parenthood to get their checkup and get like to help their pregnancy be healthy because random insane psychopaths who were brainwashed by some insane person on the radio back then or on TV convinced them that there's baby murder happening in there. This kind of thing has been going on for a while, and bomb threats that don't actually turn out to be anything and that caused the children's hospital to be shut down for a day is just the beginning of the iceberg with where this type of hate speech that YouTube is allowing and platforming and monetizing and benefiting from is going to lead to. The only logical conclusion it will lead to. What else can you expect when you tell millions of people every single day that trans people are coming to rape and butcher and sterilize your children? And they're grooming your kids, and they're empowering the schools, in the hospitals, in the medical system. You can't trust the facts, you can't trust the data or the studies or anything, because all the institutions are corrupt by the crazy groomer agenda. These people are insane, and they will absolutely resort to violence if they think it is the only option. And trust me, every day that passes when these people are allowed to be on mainstream platforms spewing their propaganda, the likelihood of violence gets even higher. More and more. It's happened before, and I'm not wrong.
Cancer treatment. So it's a pretty scary time right now.
Yeah, a lot there on the line.
Okay. So that's the first video. Okay. What do we have here? From Alejandra Caraballo. I'm bad at last names, I'm sorry. You still have this video up where Matt Walsh calls drag queens and trans people groomers while saying they need to be imprisoned. YouTube platforms a tremendous amount of anti-trans hate, so actually do something about it instead of ridiculous posts like this. Let's see. Remember a few days ago when you let Matt Walsh get his followers to send me nonstop death threats, mail swastikas to my house, and try to get me expelled from school for supporting trans youth? The video's still up. Confessed trans drug dealer offers minors hormone pills. Oh, did YouTube actually reply to one? Is this why you demonetize and slap age? Look, the one thing that YouTube actually replies to is like the somewhat defensible thing, which is, oh, our algorithm can make mistakes and accidentally age restrict LGBT content because of certain keywords. We'll fix that. Like they'll respond to those messages because those are somewhat like, you can kind of wiggle out of that response, but there's no way in hell there's a response to one of the ones saying, Matt Walsh, what about that guy? Not one. They can't, there'd be no defending it. It is definitively against their TOS. Now, I have gotten a lot of shit recently for calling for mass reporting on these channels that are blatantly breaking TOS, and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. You want this. I don't care how much of a free speech absolutist YouTuber you are. You absolutely want YouTube to cut these channels, like, down. You absolutely want to, because if they don't, what's going to happen is big companies or some big media outlet like CNN is going to find out. Some journalists will realize this is a big story just waiting to be written about. And YouTube is going to be forced to take down those channels the hard way for all of us, which means we all have to suffer another adpocalypse, possibly even a worse one than any before this. All right? So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, Zan, advocating for mass reporting. For one, there's nothing wrong with advocating for mass reporting if it's actually TOS. Plenty of people agree with this, and this content is TOS. He's literally inspired bomb threats on children's hospitals. And two, all content creators on this platform will suffer. That's you, that's you, me, everybody. If you're watching this and you make videos and you make money from it, you will suffer financially. Sooner, if not later, if YouTube does not decide, because their own community convinces them to take action on these channels. They are not motivated to, because these channels make them a lot of money right now. But if we get up in arms about it before some other platforms do, and ads start getting pulled, and YouTube has their arm twisted by us, the YouTubers, not the mainstream media, and the corporations pulling their ads from us and YouTube, reminder, trust me, it is better for all of us. Let's not repeat history. This content needs to go, all right? There's a special button you can press on content that is TOS, that leaves a special comment for YouTube, okay? And the more people who do it, the higher the likelihood of YouTube actually doing something is. So consider it. Now here's what I want you guys to do. I'm going to be titling this video, YouTube Hates Trans People. That is going to be the title of this video. Just YouTube Hates Trans People. And the reason why I'm going to title that video, or this video, that, is because it's very eye-catching and very inflammatory. And it's no doubt going to get a fair amount of attention. And hopefully, we can use that attention to get hashtag YouTube Hates Trans People trending. Can we get that going? Here, let me type it in the chat. YouTube Hates Trans People. Let me type it in the chat. You guys can copy paste the exact hashtag I want you guys to try to get trending. I want you guys to spread this around, okay? I want you guys to post that on Twitter. I want you guys to fucking, like, get your favorite content creators to get it going. Maybe I should DM Keffels and see if she wants to try to do like a big Twitter campaign with that, because she's got a lot of people that she could get to spread that around. So it's not inaccurate. It's not a lie. It is not a lie. That's for sure. But listen, the reason why it needs to be so inflammatory and eye-catching is that YouTube needs to be scared and see its community essentially starting a fuss about this. Right now, it's only like the occasional lefty YouTuber making a response video that is bringing attention to the types like Matt Walsh and whatnot. There needs to be a massive Twitter movement to get YouTube to move their ass on this. Google as a corporation can afford to run out the clock on these channels, and maybe an adpocalypse does happen, but, most likely not. Maybe they can ban them at the last second before a massive media storm happens and ads get pulled. But Google can afford to make that gamble. Google's a massive company that can afford to gamble, with their TOS and what they allow on their platform, and possibly having ads removed temporarily. We are not massive multi-billion-dollar corporations, we as content creators. We need to bully the massive multi-billion-dollar corporation we work for, which, we work for Google if you're a YouTuber, into actually doing what, upholding the rules that we're held to equally to larger content creators that make them more money. Because the bias is in who is making who the most money. And I really don't think that should be where YouTube draws the line and decides who to apply their rules to and who not to. Personally. I just think who's got more subscribers and who has less should not be what makes YouTube decide who gets to break the rules and who doesn't. That's my personal opinion, but maybe that's some crazy lefty socialist, worldview fantasy. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, regardless of whether you're watching it live or after the fact, please consider leaving a like. It helps my videos, my streams, my VODs a lot more than you guys realize. It forces YouTube to push my channel to new people that may subscribe and watch my content as well, which is always pretty nice. You can also support me by subscribing, ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications so YouTube tells you when I go live or upload a new video. You can also follow my social media, which is all linked down below in the description, including my Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and my fan Discord. You can also support me financially by donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or Patreon. With all that said, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.